Welcome back, guys. It's a cold one today. Welcome to the channel. If you guys are new, please consider subscribing to the channel and hopefully listen to the entire video. I think it's a good video for you guys. Anybody leading into the 2022 food plot season, you bought new land, you're leasing new land, whatever the case may be, this video could help you. And it's how to design a food plot program. There's lots of different ways that you could do it, but there's a few things that you should take into consideration before you start designing a program to where you can maximize where your resources go, especially now with things so expensive, fertilizer costs and lime and just everything in general is so expensive. You need to put your resources where it's most appropriate to go. When I look at a new hunting property, whether it's leasing, a land I have permission to hunt, whatever it is, I like to evaluate the situation before I just go ahead and go in and start dumping money into food plots and a program, because you got to remember food plots are supplemental, and a lot of times a lot of hunters are just leasing land or they just have permission to hunt, and they can't really go in and improve the timber value with open up the canopy, can't cut trees, the landowner won't let you do that. So you have to rely on a food plot program, but a food plot program is supplemental, so you have to consider that when designing your program. What I like to do is evaluate from an aerial photo. If I have permission to hunt a property, look at an aerial photo, and I may zoom out and look distance-wise, whatever's within a mile, mile and a half of that property. And because when you start doing habitat improvements, you're going to attract deer, and you could attract deer from a mile away easily. So I like to look at that, and when I'm looking at it, I like to figure out what's around that property that I'm hunting on. Is it a big wooded area, big timber setting? Is it ag country? Are the farmers in the area planting beans? Are they planting corn in general? A lot of times they rotate, but I've hunted on many properties that plant ag that is leased out to farmers, and a lot of them plant corn year after year after year, and it's not rotated. I guess each place is different, but it's not rotated. And corn for ag, to benefit the deer's not beneficial, because the deer aren't eating it in the spring and summer, so they're not going to be. That's not a food source for them to eat. It's a food source for them to eat in the fall when it's harvested. There's some corn left over that they can eat on, but I don't really consider that a food source for the deer in the spring and summer. If you're in an area that's planting a lot of beans, then absolutely it's a great food source for the deer they can consume. So I like to look at that from aerial photo and see what the heck is going on within the neighboring properties. Once I establish what's being planted, if it's ag country, big wooded areas, then I like to just take a drive around, look around, get the lay of the land, see if I see any deer around, just kind of evaluate the situation. Once I figure that out, I can go onto the property that I'm hunting, and I have a better idea on what I can plant, or when I need to plant, or what I should plant. And I like to put out trail cameras. When I put out trail cameras to evaluate the situation, I'm looking at one main thing. I'm looking at the deer, and I'm seeing if I see ribs showing. If the ribs are showing, it's a huge indication that they lack food. When they lack food, they're skinny. They don't have enough food. Deer eat 4, 6, 7, 8, 10 pounds of food per day. When they lack food, they're skinny. They don't have enough fat on their body, and their ribs sink in. You can see the ribs, and it's not good. They don't have enough food. Then I like to walk and evaluate the browse. I'm walking the woods. I'm looking for browse pressure on certain things, seeing where they're milling around, where there's a lot of droppings from deer, because where there's a lot of droppings, they're bedding there. It's a food source. They eat, they drop, they eat, they poop, they eat, they poop. So where there's a lot of droppings is where they spend a lot of their time. And I'm looking at that food value, and a lot of times, if it's lacking big wooded areas, they're going to lack food, and they're going to be skinny. If it's an ag country, most times you're not going to see ribs showing, because they have a lot of food. They have the ag to feed on. You have open settings where you have a lot of hedgerows and open fields where you have a lot of sunlight hitting the ground, creating extra browse. So then I figure that out, and then I realize on my property, what can I plant? Am I planting a food plot that's, say, a 1/4 acre? And I always use a 1/4 acre as an example, because that seems to be what most hunters have to work with, is just a small 1/4 acre food plot. So if I'm in agricultural settings where they're planting beans, there's a lot of food around, I don't really see much rib showing, any indication that there's lack of food in that sense, then I'm probably not going to plant the spring and summer food plot in my 1/4 acre because it's going to have very little benefit to the deer. What I'm going to do is use instead of spending the money on the seed and things like that, I'm using my resources to just improve that soil. Whether it's just taking a soil sample, adding the lime, incorporating it in, getting the weeds under control, whatever it is, I'm going to use my resources on that instead of trying to feed that deer herd in the area because they have all that agriculture around and browse, let them feed there. It's fine, perfectly fine. Now, if in that same situation, if I have a large property and I have many, many acres of food plots that I can work with, then by all means, I'm going to be planting it because I can help benefit that deer herd. And you can benefit the deer herd. I've seen it on my own properties. When you do the proper techniques, proper improvements on your soil and planting the right things throughout the year, you can fill that deer in with extra food and the ribs go away, right? So that's that situation. If I'm in a big wooded setting, most likely the deer are skinny, they're going to be lacking food. I'm going to be planting a spring and summer food plot because you can provide extra tonnage of food to that deer, and you can help benefit that deer herd. So when I'm looking at the trail camera pictures, a lot of times in the wintertime, their fur and hair is thicker, so you're not going to see those ribs showing. So it's a bad indication, bad time of year to do that. But if it's in the spring and summer, they have that thin summer coat on, you can easily see those ribs, and that's a poor indication, or that's a good indication that they lack food if you can see those ribs. And that's what I'm evaluating. I see a lot of people, 1/8 acre, 1/4 acre, 1/2 acre food plot, they're dumping all this resource and money into planting a spring and summer food plot because that's what's been pounded, into our heads, that we have to feed the deer. And I'm all for it, but you have to be realistic about it, and you have to have realistic goals and realize that it's a wild deer, right? They can roam freely, and they're not going to solely rely on your property and feed on what you have. They're going to roam, they're going to venture out, and you can't control that deer 100%. We can help them. The larger the property that you have, the more you can benefit them, and the more the areas that lack food you see rib showing, the more that your benefits are going to pay off. If you're already in an ag setting, good state, have good soil, plenty of food around, your efforts, you're going to see less of your efforts. You're going to see less of a reward because they already have that high quality food. But like I said, if it's a large property, large food plot acres, you can still benefit them a little bit, and obviously control them a little bit more on the bigger properties, control the deer herd, and you'll have some good hunting on those smaller properties. Just have realistic goals. Be cautious of not blowing your resources on things that you shouldn't. There's other important things other than a food plot that you can put your resources to. So hopefully this video helps you. Any comments, any questions, comment down below. Let me know what kind of situation you're in, whether it's ag setting, big wooded areas. Let me know down in the comments, and subscribe if you guys are new. Hope this helps. I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching this video, guys. If you want more information on food plots, soil samples, and habitat management, click this video right here on the screen. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you guys are new.